is the Conservative Colonel Podcast with Harrison Dawes, where one man stands against the rising tide of liberalism. This officer in the battle to preserve our nation is the Conservative Colonel.
Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue.
And here's Harrison Dawes.
How is everybody doing this fine southern day? Welcome to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Dawes. And before we get started, please leave us a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice. And you can check out all our podcatchers that are all the platforms we are on at conservativecolonel.com. Once again, that's conservativecolonel.com. We release an episode mostly every Thursday. Like today, it is 3 a.m. Friday. You know, so some days work just kind of gets you and hits you when you're down. So today, for instance, you're getting one a day late. I do apologize. But every week we try our best to have a show, even if it is a day late. But go leave us a 5-star review on our main platform, Spreaker, but we're also on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, Cashbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, and Good Pods. We also release the video format of the show every Wednesday on YouTube. So make sure to go check us out. Yeah, right now we've kind of just given up on Rumble. I know we did Rumble for a while, but I was trying my best to support it. It's just, I mean, is anybody actually watching it on Rumble? If I have a viewer that's watching it on Rumble or actually watching for once on Rumble, let me know and I'll catch you up if that's what you prefer to watch it on. But I don't know anybody that watches on Rumble. So we're just going to kind of, if YouTube goes down one day, yeah, I'll put everything up on Rumble. I have every episode we've done on my computer. But, oh my gosh, we got some news this week. So much news. A lot of news that I might just touch on and we might revisit because it's just absolutely bonkers. But let's start off with just some good old-fashioned what the heck. Actually, first, I do want to take a moment of the show. Mississippi, especially Waynesboro, where I am broadcasting from, got hit with a Category 5 storm. And it did a lot of damage, and there's not a lot of people that it was as blessed as I was, where there wasn't a lot of damage at my house and on my farm. And, one of the farms that my family's actually friends with had a tree come down and just destroy their fence. I mean, destroy it. And I know people who have lost, their houses and stuff like that, lost everything. So I ask that we take a moment to pray for Mississippi and the people affected by these storms. We've had two back-to-back. Mississippi, we have an area called Beep 4, and they've been hit twice, and the destruction's just awful. And I know it hurt a lot of people out there. And so I just ask that we, let's have a moment of silence, and you can pray while you're listening to the broadcast for these victims. All right. thank y'all for joining me in that. Now let's jump into some crazy news. And I'm going to spend a majority of this episode pissing on the Republican Party because, my gosh, my conservative, and I use that term lightly, sadly, party just can't help themselves. Just can't help themselves. I don't even know where to start. Let's start with this. So the Mississippi Republican Party posted on March 14th. Congrats to our elected Republican leaders on being named to the Mississippi Top 50 class of 2025. The Mississippi Republican Party appreciates their dedication to making Mississippi better. Now, Tate Reeves is on there. Tate Reeves is aight. I mean, he ain't just gonna. He's not a Trump. He's not a DeSantis. He's a follower. But I will give him this. He does stand and makes at least tries to be conservative at times. You know, there's times that politician side comes out of him and he's like, oh, no. I'll admit it. I'm the first to admit it. I told Tate Reeves to his face that I didn't think he was conservative enough. I asked Tate Reeves about an issue, and Tate Reeves lied to my face and said he would veto it if the Senate ever did it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He didn't veto it. Thank you, Governor. But I wouldn't be upset if he was the one on here. It's this. So, Sydney Hyde-Smith, she's kind of like Reeves. She will be ultra conservative like on a Monday. And then on Tuesday, you wake up and you hear that she voted for something extremely liberal and you're very confused. That's how I could. She's lukewarm. She's a lukewarm conservative. I wouldn't say moderate. Well, maybe. And that's becoming a very offensive term to us real conservatives, moderate. If you want to piss off a real conservative, call them a moderate. See them be like, oh, heck no. Just being honest, she does stuff sometimes that you're just like, ugh. And then other times you're like, oh, okay. She's better than Roger Wicker, but that's a very low bar. I mean, very, very, very low. Roger Wicker is doing something for Vicksburg, which I do appreciate as a historian, but also know that is not going to be good, whether it is. It's like giving us a crumb. Here, Mississippi, if this passes, you get a crumb. This is the leftover. You know that how the Grinch stole a crumb so small that it was even too small for a mouse. That is what Roger Wicker is giving us with that deal. But let's not get on that. I'll get mad as a historian and get pissed. So Sydney Hyde-Smith's on here. Again, those two, I would rather them not, but at least they do conservative things from time to time. And then we got, now some of these are just, gosh, awful. Speaker of the House, Jason White. No, I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot stick. Yeah, no, Jason. No, you should not be on our top leaders. And then you have this. Someone that sued the state auditor for doing his job. Attorney General Lynn Finch. This one is just 100% no. Just no. She shouldn't be on a list of conservatives. She shouldn't be recognized by the Mississippi Republican Party. And she is not a top 50 leader of our state. You're kidding. You like, no. Whoever thought that she was a conservative, they lied to you, man. And she's going to try to move up the food chain and make history. But she shouldn't be the one we let make history. That honor needs to go to another woman. actual conservative woman. And a lot of these Republicans are just so. And then you have Shade White, who surprised they put him on here, honestly. But congratulations to Shade White, because he actually is a good leader in the Republican Party. And some of these I don't know well enough to speak on. I'll just be honest. So I'm not going to trash them if I don't know much about them. But the Mississippi Republican Party is a mess, and we're actually about to get into that a whole lot. I'm going to be tearing into the Mississippi Republican Party this episode. But then you get this. And this is 110% no. Delbert Hosemann. I'll repeat it for the people in the back. Delbert Hosemann won this. What? A top 50 leader of keeping the state down, of keeping the state from being conservative. Yeah, he's doing a bang-up job of that. Of course, Delbert Hosemann's the man behind trying to go after State Auditor White for doing his job and trying to find corruption and government waste. But here's old Delbert. Delbert the Democrat. He at it again. He is just going at it, man. Whoo. This is just phenomenal, ain't it? Just phenomenal. He doesn't even deserve to be in the top 100. He doesn't deserve to be in the top 200. Delbert is 100% a Democrat that's hurting Mississippi. He is forcing the state purple. He's going to be the reason we turn blue if we turn blue. If we don't wake up, we're going to be a blue state. And you can look at one man who's responsible for it. It all goes back to Delbert. So the Mississippi Republican Party is a deadgum joke. And we're going to continue on that story after this quick commercial break. Because, oh, do I have something for y'all. Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. Oh my gosh, that was the long break on my end. For y'all, it's not, but for me, it's 4. So we're going to see how much longer I got left in the tank because I'm struggling. But so kind of building off that last story, hear this out. So a couple weeks ago, someone told me this while I was talking crap about the Mississippi Republican Party. The Mississippi Republican Party chairman was on talk show talking about just how conservative the Mississippi GOP is. And this person was like, I had to pull over because I was laughing so hard. And I would have too. We probably have the least conservative Senate and House with a supermajority in history. Like, it has to be a record that you have a party with a good platform that doesn't follow that platform, but instead is liberal and does liberal things. And then gets told by the chairman, we have the most conservative. Are talking about how conservative we are. We are just so conservative. We're leading the way. No, we're not. We're behind the baseboard. Conservatives in California get farther than we do. And we know the uphill battle them poor son of a guns are making. But it's true. They give us crumbs. They give us a conservative win, but then they do something in the background so it dilutes the win. You know, we're talking about how we eliminated the state income tax. We're not talking about the gas tax coming. Yeah, ain't that fun? it's crazy just how bad the conservative party or the Republican Party is in Mississippi. We don't have a conservative party here in Mississippi. The Republicans as a whole have a massive rhino problem that we don't want to address. And then we have an awful history, and I wasn't going to talk about this, and I probably won't talk about it much. I'll save it for later. But Trump attacking an actual conservative in the, I think it was the House, and I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but it blew my mind. And I'm sitting here like, there are actual rhinos that are hurting you. And you go after an actual conservative that had an actual criticism. And I voted for Trump. I would never take that vote back because he's doing excellent work. But Trump can also be his worst enemy, if we're being honest. And look, I get it. A lot of conservatives are very touchy when you come to criticizing Trump. I'll say it again. I am a Trump supporter. Trump 2024, Trump 2020, Trump 2016. I love President Trump. But he often holds himself back from being one of the best conservative leaders in our history. He does. Now, he focuses a lot more on big government, which I don't think is right. Me and Graves have talked about how Trump is a bit too national for my liking, because fixing a big corrupt government with big government just doesn't work. It's going to be undone by the quickest time Trump's out of office. And I try to tell that to people, but again, all of a sudden I'm turning liberal. No, I'm not. But that's a problem. We don't go after these fake conservatives. Heck, Trump endorsed Roger Wicker, the one of the worst senators we have, if not the worst, especially on the national level. Endorsed him. And I'm not allowed to say that's a bit weird. You attack one of the few conservatives we have at the national level, but stay quiet on Roger Wicker. It's a bit confusing. And again, Trump is 95% doing everything right, in my opinion. The tariff thing, if we're not careful, could backfire. But if Trump plays his cards right, and I think he will, we could have a booming economy in this country. I'm not doubting his genius. I'm not doubting his plan. I'm not doubting the man. I just have my criticisms. Again, I would vote for him again if I could. I think he's a great man that gets the job done. But those are my criticisms. Because the Republican Party is not the conservative party. It's just the only option conservatives have to go to. If there was another party out there, I honestly might support that. But there isn't. We're a two-party system, sadly. And until more people support independence or make an actual conservative party, we're kind of sitting in the dust here. I've said it many times on the show. I'm a Jeffersonian conservative. Think Chris McDaniel, Ron Paul, them people. Heck, you can think Grover Cleveland. A Democrat, mind you. One of the most conservative presidents we've ever had. One of the best presidents we've ever had. And that was, I think Trump is going to go down that way. Is a very good conservative president. On the verge of greatness. And he might get there. I still have high hopes. If he actually is able to demolish the Department of Education, something Reagan couldn't even do, and Reagan was a very good conservative. Again, I don't think he hit greatness level, but he was the best president we've had in a long time, and I think that's what Trump is going to end up being, the best president since Reagan. That's a 40-year difference. But again, I have my criticisms of my own heroes. I criticize Thomas Jefferson, and Thomas Jefferson is one of my idols. Idols is a bad term as a Christian. I don't like it. One of my heroes. I have criticisms of him not following his own rules sometimes. Heck, I could probably find some with Grover Cleveland or anybody. But I do think Trump, if he's not careful, could end up hurting himself. Not his legacy. I think his legacy will be secure, but hurting his mission. If you're going to try to get rid of the RINOs, you can attack the actual conservatives. I can't believe I don't know how I even got on this when I'm talking about the chairman of the Mississippi Republican Party. But it's just something that popped in my head, and I just kind of really wanted to say it. And again, that could cost me listeners. That could cost me the small audience I'm starting to build for myself. But it's the truth. I'm sorry. Again, I love Trump. Do not get me wrong. I do not at any bit regret me voting for him. Even with everything I know, I would vote for him again if we could walk back the clock. As I said, doing really, I think, a 95% great job. It's just stuff like this that kind of confuses me. And it's like, dude, yeah, you need Congress's permission. Yeah, you need Congress to get rid of the Department of Education. Executive order, I don't think will cut it. And again, if you do it by executive order, the next guy can overturn it. And all of a sudden, we have the Department of Education back. You're going to have to play the long game. That's why no president, that's why Reagan wasn't able to do it. Congress couldn't. He couldn't get Congress behind him. You're going to have to play the long game. And yeah, Trump has gotten a couple RINOs in his corner. Use that card. You ran on that. You can Trump has a good chance of getting the Department of Education. I would say a good 65% chance of getting it done, getting it over with. Something that's not a good thing is the Mississippi Republican Party. Trying to get back on that topic. Yeah, no, we're screwed here in Mississippi. We're utterly screwed. I honestly don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to rebound. But let's get into another story from that former senator that Delbert Hosemann went after, Senator Melanie, I believe her name, Melanie. My apologies. She made a post a day or two ago. And she said, sadly, one of my party's best traits has become taking advantage of our vote. And I couldn't agree more. Conservatives, please stop being the GOP's victims. Don't let party's leaders and their liberal big government leanings hold us hostage any longer. In years past, the Republican Party has threatened county GOP chairs and legislators to not get involved in primaries by supporting a more conservative candidate over their choosing candidate or incumbent. And this is someone on the inside who's seen all this. Yet, this week, the GOP is circling the wagons trying to fend off a potential challenger that may run against Sidney Hyde-Smith. They are busy making calls to every county GOP chairman, legislators, and others asking them to endorse her. They are trying to build talking points and a list of support to attempt to show voters that she is the candidate that we all should support. They are also trying to discourage anyone from running against her. Don't fall for their hypocrisy and tactics. And please don't be taken advantage of anymore. Do your own research, study voting records, and don't be misled by their big money campaigns any longer. It is time we elect real conservatives that will behold to the voters and not party leaders and lobbyists. I couldn't agree more with the senator, our former senator. She's hit the nail right on the coffin. Closed it, nailed it, case closed. The Republican leadership, again, what we've been talking about so far, is 100% Bull crap. And just honestly awful. I cannot believe how the Republican Party has gotten this way. You go from Reagan to the Bushes to Trump, and you can see how from Reagan to Trump, the last two people we've put up, and the last couple people we've had run and fail, Mitt Romney, just aren't cutting it anymore. The Republican Party has fallen apart, and I don't even know where it started. There's a case to say the Republican Party has never really been truly conservative. They've just played the role because there's no other party the conservatives have to run for. So they run the party with an iron fist, making sure true conservatives stay out of it so they can get their moderates or RINOs in there, or liberals in there even, that will stay to the control of the status quo and make sure we continue to spend, make government bigger, and make them more powerful, and make them more money. That's the sad thing. A lot of these politicians use this office to make them feel special and warm inside. Because look, you're important. And you're becoming richer. But no, not to fight for real conservative values. Not to actually give conservatives a voice. I mean, conservatives are honestly stuck between a rock and a hard place. We don't have our own party. Any attempt to make a party has failed. The libertarians, I'll give them credit. They vote with us, but they still are at least standing on their own 2 feet. I do say that while conservatives and libertarians are very similar, they're different. Just like I would say with the Jeffersonian, what I've termed Washington conservative, are a New Deal conservative, or Republican, honestly. At least they have their own party. They at least try to stick with it. They run somebody. They never lose any faith. They're still going to run somebody. I'll give them credit where credit's due. The libertarians, they have their own party and they could care less. They are working hard on the grassroots effort. And sooner or later, libertarians might be more powerful than conservatives in this country, simply because the conservatives just are trying their hardest to stick with the R's. And it just is continuing to fail. Again, do something for 40 years. If it's not working, you can even trace this back longer than past Reagan. You can honestly say Reagan was like a Trump, where he got into office, made conservatives cool, but he was still surrounded by RINOs. Of course, that term hadn't been coined yet, but you can make a good case for it. Because why were we so conservative under Reagan, and then we just kind of vanished under Bush? It's because he didn't really have conservatives around him. He was the conservative pushing point. Like Trump, when Trump leaves, I'm definitely scared for this party. I think everybody's just been playing conservative, and then we're going to look up and be like, oh, we're screwed for another 20 years. And that's just going to lead this country more and more left. You cannot support a candidate just because they have an R by their name. Do the research. Well, our party is 90% RINO. It's not a small problem. It's the defining problem of the Republican Party. If the Republican Party doesn't fix this, it is the most useless party in existence. The Whigs probably had more of an influence than us. I would be okay with reviving the old Democratic Republicans, Thomas Jefferson's party, the Jeffersonians. They ran this country and had a whole era, the Jeffersonian era. Had 3 or 4 or 5 presidents in a row. Ended kind of with Grover Cleveland. We don't have our own party. And as soon as we realize that and try, and we could get the Republican Party on our side, not the leaders, but the people. That's what we have to do. You cannot tell me that the majority of our voters are conservative, don't want a real conservative. They do. They've just been misguided and misled and just been taken advantage of, like the senator says. We need to look ahead. We need to actually plan our future, conservatives. All right, we're going to take a break and start getting into some national news now, where I have some just funny crap. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. I probably just broke your eardrums. My apologies. But now we are getting into some just weirdities. Kind of national news now. Got a bit of national news. Kind of got 3 stories here. We'll see how we go. But did you know that the WNBA is on strike? That was my reaction. Angela Reese is quoted, and she's one of these crybabies about Caitlin Clark and how she's pissed that a white girl is doing so good and getting all this publicity when she hasn't been able to get all this publicity. That's because Clark actually made y'all's league interesting. Before that, no one watched the WNBA. You couldn't get feminists to watch the WNBA. And I will give them this. They have some things going for them now. Attendance is up. Viewership is up. They have a good deal now. And so now the players are wanting their taste. Here's the thing. They want to be paid the same as the NBA. That's not going to happen. Y'all don't make enough money. The NBA bails y'all's out every year because y'all always end up in the negative. Now, maybe Clark can get y'all up so y'all aren't in the red. Heck, she might even get y'all up in the green. But striking is not the way to do it. Because if I was in charge of the NBA, I would just let y'all stay on strike. Have fun. Go have at it. We pay y'all a decent living to play basketball. And we have our juggernaut of a sport that probably makes billions upon billions upon billions of dollars, while y'all just made your first $7 billion TV deal. Like, let's just see. The NBA is worth $138 billion a whole, with each team being worth around $4.6 billion. Now let's look at the WNBA. The WNBA is collectively worth $1.16 billion, with teams ranging from $55 million to $140 million in value. They gross about $200 million a year. The NBA just passed $10 billion in revenues. $10 billion. And that's in the 2021 and 2022 season. We're not even in the 2023 season. Let's just for craps and giggles. They grossed $11 billion, marking a $700 million increase from the previous year. So, yes, you aren't getting paid as much as the NBA. How about you up them numbers and you get paid more? Maybe then I would go on strike saying, hey, this is what we want. That would be okay. That would be fine. But you're trying to find inequality when there isn't any. Angela went on to say, what are they going to watch if we don't play? Men's college basketball, women's college basketball, the NBA. Y'all are legit out of the 4 biggest basketball platforms, the least likely to be watched. The least likely. Before Caitlin Clark, the college NCAA drew more than yours, the women's. Now, Reese is also pictured in this quote with a sign, we're not here for your entertainment. Then what are you here for? Because correct me if I'm wrong, Reese. You get paid to play basketball for us. Magical concept, ain't it? You provide a service, an enjoyment. Basketball is my escape. Jack talked about baseball being his. Basketball's mine. I'm in the middle of March Madness. Tomorrow, I was going to sit home, relax, and not do anything, but instead I'm going to go to a friend's house. Even though I'm socially drained, it's going to be close to 5 a.m, probably 6 when I get done editing and getting this episode ready for y'all to listen to at 7. So my question is, Reese, what do you mean? What are they going to watch if we don't play? We're not here. We're not here for your entertainment. I'll take someone that doesn't understand their job for $500, Alex, because this is just stupidity at its best, ain't it? I could just look at the memes that are going to come from this. Oh, here's the full quote. I forgot I had the full quote, but we'll read that in a second. I'm still stuck on we're not here for your entertainment. That's exactly what you're here for. You're here for an escape. That's why no one wants politics. I don't want my politics in sports. I want to turn on a game, watch a good game of basketball, and be taken back by the competitiveness, by the spirit of the game, by each person's foundational knowledge of basketball. I don't like shooting threes like it's going out of style. I want to see great fundamental basketball. Big men, layups, dunks, and the occasional three-pointer. Good defense. Good teamwork. Passing the ball. Posting up down low, squaring up, hook shot, or hitting it at the right-hand corner so it bounces in. Going in the paint. Fighting. And actual fighting. I do like a good breakout every now and then. I'm not going to lie. Makes rivalries more intense. And there's nothing a good sports fan loves than a rivalry. You're here for our entertainment. Don't push your political agenda. And don't be stupid. Like, so on average, a WNBA player makes $147,000, with the highest being $252,000 annually, with the minimum salary being $62,285. For reference, as a farmer, I don't make that much. When I go into teaching, I won't make that much. And I'm talking about the minimum salary. I might make the minimum salary at some point, but that will be coming close to my highest. You're making six figures. If you can't live off six figures, you're doing something wrong. Now, again, if they get more viewership, if they get more good games, more people in attendance, start selling merchandise, more TV deals, I'm perfectly fine with them making much. Do I think players in all sports make a ridiculous amount of money? Yes. And it's stupid and they shouldn't be making that much. But I do agree. I think they should be making more than what they are now if they start bringing in money. Everybody's got to eat. A basketball team is not ran by the people you see on the court. They're a big part of it, but you still have a lot of people involved behind the scenes that deserve to get paid. Good money, too. But you are here for our entertainment, Reese. Remember that in your head. And here's the full quote. We're going to talk about this full quote, and then we got two more stories. What else are they going to watch if we don't play? Netflix, Apple TV? Y'all really want to sit through another convoluted, slow burn drama where nothing happens for 6 episodes? Again, she's neglecting the fact that the NBA exists. March Madness is legit happening right now. Probably the greatest time for a basketball fan is March Madness. Sure, I mean, some stupid TV show has great acting, but by the time you're on episode 7, you're still waiting there for something actually to happen, saying, dang, I wish the Golden State Valkyries were playing the Seattle Storm tonight. And just like that, the lockout would fold like a cheap suit. This is her thinking that people actually care this much about the WNBA. Ma'am, they don't. I've watched a couple games for Clark, and that's it. And she does good. I'm not saying she doesn't. But you are just crazy out of touch. Crazy. And you can get endorsements. You can get paid more. Clark did that. Clark gets paid just... Well, I had the tab open. She gets paid $76,000 for a 4-year contract totaling $338,000. But now again, I don't know exactly how much she's making. But she's making significantly more with endorsements. Here's the breakdown. In 2024, she made 76. In 25, she'll make 78. And then in 26, she makes 85 grand. In 27, the 4th year option, she could make $97,000. With her endorsements with companies like Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm, she could potentially be reaching $3 million in her first year. She has a multi-year deal with Nike, reportedly worth $28 million over 8 years. Why are you complaining? One of those deals would set me up for life. But I guess you want to live a big lifestyle. Big vehicles, big houses, multiple houses, parties. You're wanting to entertain yourself, not us. Don't give me that crap. Again, I think that they should be able to afford a good lifestyle because they have to make a lot because once they're done playing, they're done earning on the most part. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with them being able to afford a house, being able to afford even a small mansion. And this is coming from a humble farmer. And yeah, again, they do make too much in total. I'm talking about other sports that bring in money. But they're bringing in the money to make that money. No sports team is going in the red too much here. I mean, I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but you're not suffering. You're a $1 billion organization. But it just blows my mind that this is what she said. She's completely out of touch with why she's not making much money. Again, work hard, build it up. Larry Bird, one of the greatest basketball players ever and one of my favorite basketball players, tied with number 1 with Michael Jordan. And Magic Johnson, who's probably my number 3. They themselves together brought the NBA out of just nothingness into the big bright lights and made it the organization it is today. And then you had this phenomenon, Michael Jordan, who turned it from a national to an international organization worth billions. It can be done. You just need the talent and the just drive. And that's the problem. They want to make millions just playing basketball. I almost exited out of this. I would have been pissed. And they could be fine. But they don't want it. They don't want it. But yeah, no, I don't think I've ever caught myself saying, dang, I wish the Golden State Valkyries were playing the Seattle Storm tonight. Never am I. I've said the Golden State Warriors playing, heck, I'll admit it. I was a Golden Warriors bandwagon fan for a couple years because I just admire Curry, his playing style. Even though it's mostly threes, I think he's the best three-point shooter the game has ever seen. So I like witnessing it. And the NBA really ain't got nothing other than that. I'm a Boston Celtics fan, and I can't even pay for good basketball. Again, they're scoring in the hundreds, but it's just, So I like watching college. You can get some good basketball. Heck, a couple years ago, I watched Clark on her senior year because she was playing such good fundamental basketball. In my opinion, it was the best basketball in the world at the time. The Women's Basketball League and the NCAA. But I've never watched the WNBA but once. Maybe twice. And again, it was for Clark. So you tell me, is it going to really fold that quickly? We'll be right back after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. We got 2 more stories for you. And one of them will probably be pretty quick, but I just want to bring it to everybody's knowledge. California Governor Gavin Newsom wants more money after Medicare for illegal immigrants ends up costing the state more than he thought it would. He's asking for $3 billion to cover the budget shortfall after immigrants drive up costs. Yes, it'd be great if we could pay for everybody's medical bills. It would. But it's not going to happen. You have to get the government crazy control to cover that. Crazy. Asking everybody to pay for everybody's stuff, it just doesn't work. And now we're doing it for illegal immigrants. Non-citizens. People who broke the law to come here. I don't even have how do you misbudget $3 billion? Like you failed $3 billion short, man. And you want the national government to pay for it. Everybody to pay for California's stupidity. But a couple months ago, you were talking about secession. Haven't talked about that on the show yet, but one day we will. Now, talking about secession, talking about a state's rights. Yes, the state has the right to do both. That's my honest opinion. Controversial, but real. But here's the deal with that. You have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet if you're going to make those threats. If you're going to say that you don't need the federal government, if you don't want the federal government bossing you around, you can't take their money. For times of crisis, yeah, sure. Hurricane, earthquake, tsunami, whatever the good Lord throws, fire. Yeah, it's fine to ask then. That's a national disaster. This is your own government shooting itself in the foot because it's full of stupid people, idiots, liberals that are trying their best to bankrupt the state. That's not our fault. That's not what the Constitution tells the federal government it can do. And I don't want it to. Now, if they would like to take out a loan and pay us back, that's a different story. But I guarantee you he's just asking for a handout. We've had to bail out governments, state governments that have been broke before. Illinois. But I think it was Illinois. Chicago, I think, right? We'll look it up later. But again, he's asking us to pay for the fact that his state cannot cover this. And it's just crazy. Like, I don't understand. And real quick, I do have that story. Illinois in 2017 came close to being the first state to declare bankruptcy. Officially. Indiana apparently did it, and Arkansas. Oh, no. Arkansas, I think, yeah, almost did it. But again, you know, I digress. You want us to pay you, and you're not even going to offer to pay the government, aka the people, back? I doubt it. Again, it's California. It's Gavin Newsom. And it goes to the point that liberals want something that we can't afford. Imagine if we did this on a national level. Who are we borrowing money from? We already pay for the government. The government's already in debt. We can't afford free health care. If California can't pay for it, who the heck can? California has one of the highest populations in the country. And probably some crazy taxes. You telling me that y'all can't pay for it? I know my state couldn't. I know our government couldn't. That's the truth with free healthcare that no one wants to understand. It can bankrupt us. And it's just like Canada talks about, but at least we have free hair care, hey? That's awful. I apologize to any Canadian conservatives out there. But, you know, they talk about a weaker Canadian dollar, the rise of cost of living, higher debts, financial stability they're worried about. They talk about financial stress, interest rates. And this is all I have just Googled quickly. And like something that popped up, why are so many Canadians struggling? High interest rates. It's one of the world's largest trading nations, reaching over $2 trillion. And yet they're still struggling. That blows my mind. Unemployment's pretty high. But, well, I'm pretty sure we can. Oh, crap. We're paying for half of it. We're 76% of their main exporters. And I never said I was an expert in economy. But I would love to bring an expert on the show and have them tell you about it. But again, we just honestly can't afford that. It's crazy that people think it. If California can't, how are we supposed to pay for it? But alas, they're never going to learn. California's going to run its own state in the ground. I'm fine with that. It's harsh truth. I don't care what California does. I don't care what Alabama does, Texas does, New York does, D.C. Well, D.C. is not a state, and it should never be a state. Virginia, I like Virginia. I like Texas. I like Alabama. I have land in Alabama. I hunt in Alabama. But I care only about my state. That's how our founders wanted it. The national government, we wouldn't be so split and hated between the two parties if we focused on our state governments. Take a chill pill. But here we are. We're going to take one more commercial break and get back with the last story of the show. Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. As we wrap this episode up, let's talk about no other than Joe Biden. Now, a lot of interesting stuff's come out about Joe this week. And I'm saving that for next week where I have a bit more time to talk about it. But, oh my gosh, Joe. Oh, why did it take so long for us for the rest of the country to figure out you were incompetent? Oh, Joe, what took so long? Joe's really the luckiest man in the world because the whole country. Oh, he's mentally stable to be president. I would vote for him again, and I would have. Crap. Y'all would have voted for a man that uses auto pen to sign stuff. Like that's the story, by the way. Joe Biden using auto pen and like the majority of his stuff, like having the exact same signature. And this was on the pardons that he did. And so first off, and I think rightfully so, people are questioning the legality of these pardons, if they are legal. And Trump is going to challenge it, I think. I think he's going to challenge it in court. Or maybe he's just going to overturn it, which I don't think he has power to do, but it would still be funny. But that does beg the question I wanted to go with this story. If Joe was using an auto pen, if he was unaware of this stuff, who was running the country? It wasn't Joe. Could have been the Obamas, could have been his wife, it could have been Harris. Whoever it was did an awful job and should stay away from government for the rest of their lives. But the question still remains. Who was running the country? And I don't want to cut this short because it's a very important topic. But it does beg the question, doesn't it? Who ran the country? Was it Nancy Pelosi? The Obamas? Harris? Jill? Biden? Who was it? Because it wasn't Joe, and we now have proof. We have some more proof of Joe. We're going to be talking about Joe a lot in the next episode. So I kind of want to save that as a teaser for episode 46. So make sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Make sure again to check us out on conservativekernel.com and leave us a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice. We are on Speaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, Cashbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, and Good Pods. On Wednesdays, we release the video format of the show on YouTube. So make sure to go check us out. Thank y'all for listening. Share us out there. Let's grow our audience to huge numbers so we can tell people real conservative values. And until next time, God bless America and God bless Mississippi.